Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast more cowardly than CB Bucknor. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
Cowardly, petty, old, forgotten, unneeded. Many of these things can describe both of us.
Yeah. I couldn't tell at first. I thought you were just talking about us.
Yeah.
And among many things, this week we are going to begin our overreaction to early spring training results. And also we're going to begin our coverage of the NL Central, beginning with the Cincinnati Reds. If you have an idea for the opening bit, tweet us at Talk About Birds. All right, Ben, we've done it. We've got baseball games happening.
Yeah.
It's starting, so we've got all sorts of overreactions to get to. But I think we have a couple things we want to talk about before we actually get into our baseball. Real quickly, I want to tell you something exciting. I think you have some news to share with me as well.
I like to be excited.
I am going to, well, we'll see how excited you are about this, but I'm excited. I am going to the STL City home opener this Saturday night. The first game at the new stadium here in St. Louis.
I don't care. Soccer's stupid. Football.
Wow.
I don't know. I just don't care.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And so I'll try to relay. I've been thinking about how much I don't care about soccer, and obviously I'm not an STL, so I'm not like inundated with city stuff. But the like facility like this, we work out at this big multiplex family thing, and it's got soccer fields all over the place,
Mm-hmm.
And I swear, I think I see a fight or someone overreacting to soccer, like adult men our age or older, like fighting over like an intramural soccer after work soccer league, and people kicking each other, shoving each other into boards, people really getting hurt. And every time I see that I like have no empathy because maybe I'm a monster, I don't know. And I think like, guys, this sport is stupid. What are you what is getting you so gassed up? Take a chill pill, play a real sport, and then if you get mad, I would understand it. If you get buzzed with a fastball and you take umbrage with that, that makes more sense to me than like somebody kicking the ball off the board and it hitting you in the stomach and then you like slowly kicking it away. And then I don't know. I don't care about it. I'm happy that people like it. I know that St. Louis, I grew up in St. Louis. I know it's a soccer town. People care about it. I feel like youth soccer is a huge deal there. I don't care.
Yeah.
Denver's had a team for a long time. We've never gone. Yeah. So there's my grouchy, shitty take on the city or
Cool.
Also the team name. Come on.
We have quite a rapport going where I ask you how excited you are about a certain thing and you just shit on it. So we've got Christmas, holidays in general, and soccer. But at least your concern with it is all the way at the root. The sport itself sucks. Not just, your allegiance to anything else. I did have to ask you work out at a giant complex. My workout, are you saying you're just like walking from concession stand to concession stand, watching all of these men play soccer while you eat your nacho cheese? Is that what it is?
It's really fun because I can't even really argue with it because the complex does have like a full bar and like nachos, and there's always a food truck outside. So yeah, I could easily. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Yes, 100%. Cool. I actually just like watching the game. I just go to watch the game, have a couple of beers, and then go home. But I put my gym clothes on.
Yeah, what a workout. Well, I am excited. I will say though, for what it's worth, I've never really been much of a soccer fan. I played soccer briefly.
I have to imagine you were just like elite immediately. You hit the ground, and Pele comparisons coming out.
They actually kicked me out of the league because it was unfair. It was like a whole power imbalance thing. No, actually, like my only real exposure with soccer, other than when I was when I was really young, I played in a league, and I don't remember this, but apparently all I would do is just run following the lines painted on the ground and just like do laps around the soccer field, which good luck me. But also I played again when I was like, I don't know. Probably like somewhere between 10 and 13. I don't remember. I might have been a little younger. And our coach was exactly the type of guy that you are explaining, only for kids. I do remember this. There was a game where someone stole the ball from the other team. So we had done something successful. And our coach from the side yelled to a bunch of children, "Nice steal, but they're still standing." Implying that truly the right move would have been to not only steal the ball, but ensure that the other child had been knocked to the ground.
How are these people allowed around children? Like,
well, it became a whole thing.
Here?
This was just one example of aggressive behavior that ultimately led to like this coach being confronted by a bunch of the parents and like the team collapsing. So it was like it was a whole thing, and so it kind of soured my taste on soccer. But I am a big fan of St. Louis sports and supporting St. Louis stuff. And the stadium looks beautiful. I mean, they're really trying something new with the stadium. Like all of the food stands are local restaurants, not like your giant conglomerate. You know, you're getting exactly the same thing at every stand. A lot of care to make it like an extension of the local scene rather than just a conglomerate of vendors. Which I'm really excited about. And they're doing that interesting thing where it's the I forget what it's called, but basically like the field is below surface. So like the actual if you're looking at the stadium from the outside looking in, doesn't seem particularly huge, but then you go in and it goes down. So it's a interesting eye level and way that it fits in with the city. So I'm excited for it. And they won their first game, and they are, because it's an expansion league, they're the like projected to be the worst team in the league, and they already won their first game. So there's a little bit of excitement about the team actually maybe being somewhat competitive, not just fun to have. So we'll see. I've been excited about it, but I also, again, I don't really care about soccer, so I want to get into it. But if it just ends up being more like an event that I go to from time to time, that might be the case. Frankly, the biggest exposure I've had to soccer in the last like 20 years is Ted Lasso. So,
I think you're kind of, you have a mental blind spot for my illustrious high school and early college soccer career that you participated in several times.
I know.
So
well, I was wondering if we've never talked about the Bearded Dragons on this show. No. I should say, of course, when you and I were 18 to 20 years old, we were elite performers in a soccer league intended for 16-year-olds.
Yes. Yeah. I maybe we'll talk about. I don't think we need to get into this right now. But long story short, and I was the captain of this team for a minute, which really just meant that I was the one like signing the paperwork and making it happen. But we had this group of eventually is all people who had graduated high school playing in an intramural high school indoor league, and there was maybe one actual athlete on our team. But yeah, maybe we can spend more time on that. That's a whole podcast, but we don't need to dive in now.
I'll just say bringing water balloons to a soccer match was one of my favorite.
Mini trampoline too. That was a good one.
Mini trampolines. So well, we were already pretty far, and you had some news you wanted to share with me,
Nate. I have horrible news.
Oh no.
And I'm directing this at you because I know that you're going to not think it's horrible news.
Let me guess. Someone wants to like celebrate something with you or have an otherwise delightful time, and you're dreading it.
You're actually not that far off. So, Mary, my lovely wife, we love her. She's great, right?
Sure.
Yeah. She signed us up for the Rockies home run 5K on May 20th.
Oh shit. Okay. All right.
So I'm running a 5K. I know you love your 5Ks and your runs and everything like that. I hate it. I absolutely hate running. It's one of my least favorite things in the entire world. But we're signed up. It starts somewhere downtown, and it's similar to the St. Louis thing where you like end in the stadium and you run around the warning track. And I don't know, maybe we get to meet Dinger and KB will be there. I don't know exactly what to expect, but yeah, May 20th, I'm running a 5K. I don't know. I'm
assuming you survive.
Not sure how to feel. Yeah.
Assuming you survive, I think you'll enjoy it. I did the Cardinal one last year, and I'm going to do it again this year. It's in April. It is a lot of fun going out on the field,
Yeah.
and you can do what I did, which let me tell you, the crowd loved it. You go up and pretend like you're robbing a home run.
Oh, that was probably the first time anyone has ever done that.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun and funny. I was getting high fives, signing autographs.
If I make it past Blake Street, I will feel like I've competed. I've won. I've done a great job. If I am robbing a home run on the wall, then I don't know. I might be just done. Like I've succeeded.
You hope that you jump up, pretend to rob the home run, and when you land, you quickly get buried in a gravesite, much like Battlefield Baseball, Jobu Baseball.
Yeah, I would like to go to a weird version of hell or heaven or purgatory and find my father, who is still alive, cleaning a bicycle.
Yeah. There's at least like a 3% chance this happens.
Yeah.
In fact,
and if not, I think I can force it. I can jump off a high balcony or something and make it happen.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. We're all counting on you. But yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. And at the very least,
I got to start training. I don't run at all. I'm gonna die.
There, at the very least, with a 5K, like
I looked it up, Nate. It's over 3 miles. That sounds impossible with where I'm sitting right now as far as my physical health.
A lot of people are out there just having a good time walking it too. It's just
I don't
nice
have
to
that gear though. You know me. I'm a competitor.
Oh yeah. You're in it to win it. I know you. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's one of the best part about these things is the people that are like wildly in shape that like you should be smoking, like getting passed by like a like 80-year-old person, who's just like game face on, chewing right past you, and then like an 8-year-old runs past you too, and you're like, I'm in my prime.
Yeah. And these Colorado natives do not mess around. Like I'm gonna get smoked. Yeah, it's
yeah.
We'll see what
there's
happens.
Probably gonna be someone who like is gonna they're gonna run the 5K, run through Colorado Rocky Stadium, run out, and then run up to the top of a mountain all in one continuous run.
And at some point they'll throw water on me and say beep beep fatso or something like that, and I'll cry.
Famous jerks, people who live in Denver.
We can't help it.
All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, pal. There will be updates, I'm sure, because I'm going to be bitching about it.
Yeah, that's what people want to hear. So we've got actual games to talk about.
Hell yeah.
Actual box scores. And it's been kind of nice because I maybe I'm wrong here, and I know we haven't had really like a normal spring training for a couple years. But it feels to me, maybe it's because of the World Baseball Classic, that we've been seeing some of the stars a little bit longer and a little bit more than we normally do at this point in spring training, which has been kind of fun. A couple have been televised. Unfortunately, not all of them, which is a thing that I think we could all rant about. But
insane.
Overall, it's big takeaway so far is we've been seeing a lot of things that we've been hoping to see in this early spring training. But what do you want to talk about first, Ben?
Well, I think the biggest story in baseball right now, and I think we need to talk about that first, and that's the pitch clock. I think the other rules have, like, the bases. We talked about this months ago. The bases are going to make a minute change. The throw over thing is going to make a minute change. I really don't think that stuff is going to affect baseball all that much. I like if Trey Turner breaks 50 stolen bases rather than sticking around 40, like that's what we're talking about, which is cool. Like 50 stolen bases is awesome, but like I don't think like what those rules don't take into account for, like, I understand the spirit in which they were intended, like why they did that, but like the way that front offices look at it, the way that players value themselves, the way that other teams value players, and the way players get contracts, like that is why stolen bases have gone down. It's
Right.
not because of this team winning thing, it's because of what it does to your WAR and your player value, and
They were
boom,
talking about
that's
that
how
on the
players,
broadcast,
yeah,
right? Where you
that's
list
how players are paid.
Yeah, the ESPN broadcast on Monday's game.
Yeah.
They were talking about Carlos Correa directly citing his WAR totals and for why he was less likely to steal bases, because the impact of a caught stealing outweighs the like benefit of having a higher stolen base count. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's
And
that's an
and it's
interesting part of it for
and it's
sure.
more complex than that. It's taking the extra base when it's advantageous. It's not necessarily stealing bases. So I think, like, as long as WAR is a number that front offices care about, this is going to be the stealing environment.
Yeah.
And it seems really hard from where we're sitting right now to get away from that. At least it's going to take a long time, and there's going to have to be a change in thought, which
Yeah.
will happen at some point. Like, WAR will be a thing of the past at some point, but where we're sitting right now, it's the best we got as far as like comparing players.
Yeah.
Anyways,
One last point on that though is that,
yeah,
like, I don't know that that will change, because all that war has done is helped us realize more directly that the loss of giving up a runner on base in exchange for the potential for an extra base, like, that is almost never a valuable, like a worthwhile risk.
right.
The absolute worst thing you can do in baseball is make an out, right? So, and getting an extra base may or may not ultimately have an impact. The last time I saw it, this may have adjusted since the last time I've seen it, but like the standard thought right now is that you need to be successful at an 85% or better clip for that. For the benefit of stealing a base to exceed the cost of being potentially thrown out over the length of a season. And
Sure.
and 85% is really hard to accomplish. Now, this new change may make that a little bit easier, but still that's a high percentile to be successful in stolen bases. And so people are just
Yeah.
not likely to do it.
And I think that's all fine and dandy. And I think it's fun to speak in like 30,000 foot view, 85% stealing percentage, yada, yada, yada. I think where the gap is currently, and where like we'll be talking about more and more, is like the situational and like the probabilistic nature of certain situations, because
Yeah.
a stolen base in game one, the first inning of game one, and then the stolen base in, game 155 tied bottom of the ninth, are two completely different beasts. And
Right.
I think that is where the gaps in value and understanding that, because if you get thrown out in that first one, it's probably not going to affect your team, the WAR, the winning at all. If you get,
Right.
you have a huge win probability added in that game that I was talking about. Anyways, I
Yeah.
want to talk about the pitch clock, and I want to kind of,
Yeah.
first off, I'll say my 2 cents on the pitch clock. It good. These games are cruising, which I'm really enjoying. It's already taken off about half an hour of baseball games, 25 minutes to 30 minutes, which I think has been great. I think that there's a competitive edge to it that I'm really enjoying. But really, the way that these games are, it is just such a better thing to watch on TV for my money. What are your early thoughts?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time finding any fault in it. Not that I'm looking for fault, but like my initial takeaway is that it's been better. Like, what was that spring training game 2 days ago, or on Sunday? 19 runs,
Yeah.
huge game, and it was over in 2 hours and 59 minutes. They actually made a point of it in the broadcast. It came down to like this last pitch, whether the game was going to be under 3 hours or not, and it came in just under 3 hours. And in a normal situation, a 19-run game is probably 4 hours at
I mean,
least,
yeah,
right?
easy for
Now,
sure.
spring training is a little bit different. Your pitching changes are a little bit different. A regular season 3 hour game, or regular season 19-hour game will probably go a little bit longer, but still, like just the idea of a under any circumstance, a 19-run game taking 3 hours is
Yeah.
pretty incredible. So, I've been enjoying it. Don't really particularly like this organization, but they did a good job of showcasing this. Barstool Sports put out a video
Oh, you're a huge
of
bar. You're a Portnoy freak.
don't please don't. um, they put out a video.
You like how he treats women, right? That's the number one
that's the
thing.
one.
Yeah.
Forget all the rest.
Yeah.
They put out a video where it was Javi Baez. So he's a particularly not Javi. Was it Pedro Baez? Anyway, pitcher who's particularly
Yeah.
known for being slow. In the time that he threw one pitch, a full inning was done or a full side of an inning was done in spring training. Because in this one at bat, without the pitch clock, he threw over like 2 or 3 times. He stepped off to look at the runner behind him. I do believe it was a playoff game, so it was a particularly high stress environment. But still, the point was they had split screen. On one side, you had a full half inning go, and on the other half, you had a pitcher just sort of walking around, looking around, doing nothing, right? And it's pretty incredible that you could already there was an example of one half inning taking less than one pitch in under the old rules. I did hear, so I would say I'm all for it. I think it's a positive change. I did hear one particular sort of counter to it that I had not thought about that I wanted to get your take on. That I think overall it's a net good, but where there is a possible negative side to this is the actual ballpark experience. Going to a baseball game has this sort of reputation and vibe of you're going to go and you're going to be there for a while, and it's part of a game. Going to a baseball game is that like you're in the stadium for an extended amount of time. Hell, even some cities, it's like standard to show up a little bit late, whether you agree with that or not. Like it's part of the vibe of baseball. It's a summer day. I'm going to spend the day at the ballpark. Uh, Last call is at the 7th inning, which may be 2.5 hours into the game. That's very different now. If the game's going to be 2 hours and 15 minutes, and that's like a pretty standard operating procedure for a baseball game, you're going to have your last call like an hour and a half in. If you miss it by 15 minutes, you might miss the first 2 innings, right? It's going to make the game like a far more compact thing. And the effort to go to a baseball game and the standard, what you expect when you do actually get the family together to go to a baseball game, there may be some feelings of like, well, that wasn't worth it. We were only there for 2 hours and 20 minutes. Last call was an hour and a half in. I spent $150 on concessions. Like, damn, that went by too fast. Are we overthinking that, or you go to a lot of games, but you also, it's, you have a different setup than a lot of people going to games, right? So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think that's fine and dandy, but I think I don't I don't really view that as a real problem. Like especially me, as like you said, I do like to go to a lot of games. So if I'm going to more games and I'm getting like many hours of my personal time back, I'm for that. And I think like, I can absolutely speak this. This is true for Busch. This is true for Wrigley. This is true for Coors Field. The ballparks that I've spent a lot of time at, I would say that in my limited experience, this is true for Fenway. But like you can show up early, you can stay a little bit late, you can be around the ballpark. Also, all 3 of those ballparks I just mentioned have like a ballpark village around them. I think that you can still kind of extend it. But I think the uptick in the action, and I think what we've seen as far as like, there's just a little more. Things are just moving. It's just a better product, and I think that for my money, that outweighs what you're talking about. I'm also not lugging, 3 kids, 45 minutes down and making a whole day out of it. So my perspective is much different. But my understanding is like for children, they'll like a shorter game for 1,000 different reasons.
Right.
And myself, like I said, I go to enough games that I'm like actually getting an amount of time back that I'm looking forward to. All that being said, I do think that all of these changes are specifically focused on the TV product.
Yeah.
Like we've
Which
said
is
this
smart.
1,000. Yeah. Which is smart because that's how
Yeah.
most people are interacting with it. Like Cardinals draw 3.3 million people a year, somewhere around there. Their TV numbers are way, way, way over that. Like that is who they're thinking about. That's who they're trying to get. They're trying to get sports bars filled and homes and all that stuff. And like, especially us two, like we just love baseball.
Right.
I don't care if I go to a game and it's 4 hours long, I'm having a great time. I'm staying there from first pitch to last pitch. I love it. Like, and I think that, and I'm sure most people who are listening to us talk right now, like, these changes aren't for us. These
Right.
changes, we like the product. The product is good. It's we love the sport. We love the athleticism. We love the metagaming, pitcher catcher, defensive situational or positioning in situations. Like, we're here for all that, but they don't care about us. They have us locked in. We're giving them our money every year, since before we
Yeah.
could really even remember and have money. So yeah, I know it's kind of like a windy opinion to land on, but that's kind of where I'm at. I think it's fine. I think the product is good. I think it's, a lot of people like who aren't baseball fans. I don't think this is everyone's gonna flip over and watch Cardinals games all year now, or baseball games all year now, just because of these changes. But I think a lot of people who criticize, it's like there's just a lot of nothing happening in baseball, or what is
Yeah.
perceived by somebody who doesn't watch 150 plus games a year as nothing happening.
Right.
Now, I think, like, if you're listening to this podcast and you're watching baseball with somebody who's maybe not a huge baseball fan, like, I think as long as you're not being an obnoxious person, it's fun to sit there and be like, hey, here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing
Right.
when shifts could happen. Here's why this is interesting, or here's why there's kind of a cost analysis of moving Arenado over here. Here's what they're opening up, but this is why they're doing this. And to people like sickos like us, we like all that stuff.
Just the
Um,
nastiest. Yeah.
but I like, I'm not going to kid myself. I know that's not for everybody. I know
Yeah.
people don't care. Really, I think 90% of American sports watchers want to see big, strong men do athletic things, make
Hell
dives.
yeah.
Yeah. Stubby clap
um,
tackles.
oh yeah. Bringing down the
Fastball
polar
over
bear.
100. Yeah, all they really want to see is extremely athletic people doing extremely athletic things. And I think the nuances, like, it's here for us. But don't kid yourself. It's just not for
Yeah.
everybody. And
Yeah.
I've made peace with that fact, I suppose.
Well, I'm just saying, there will be a time when at least one owner is going to complain about reduced concession sales,
Yeah.
and we all have to be prepared to be pissed off about them
Yeah.
making
Well,
this change, and then being negative towards the fans about it. So
yeah, and I'll be curious to see. Like, I hope. Well, will we hear that? I think you're probably 100% right. We will hear that. What would be nice though? So what they do at Coors is, they turned what used to be the fourth level deck behind right field. It used to just be the super cheap seats. What they did is blew out all those seats, put two massive bars up there, and there's a taco shop, and you can go up there, get drinks. It's standing room, walk around, hang out. I think that is what I would encourage all baseball stadiums to do.
yeah,
I would, like, if I was in St. Louis, I'd be fine. I'll show up to Busch 30 minutes early, get a little extra time. I'd go grab a nice beer and then, have that beer, do a little mingling, and then go find my seats. That's what I would encourage them to do. Like, you should spend 3 hours plus in the ballpark. It's a good place to be.
yeah.
Now we'll see if they encourage that or make that available or whatever, I guess.
I wonder if they'll remove the standard of seventh inning being last call. Like, I think part of that was tradition, and part of it is just to give the concession staff a chance to clean up and start closing down before the end of the game so they can go home, which, like, all for that. But I wonder if removing on average a half an hour off of every game, if not more, and that's average. Like, some of these games are ending at like 2 hours. If they will consider changing some of that
Yeah.
structure. Um, so I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, I
It'll
think,
be
like,
interesting.
MLB owners are already spoiled because they get like double the games that any other sport gets.
Yeah,
But I think, like, put a reminder by that comment. I think you are
yeah.
100% right. We
We'll
will hear
see.
that. We will hear that, like,
it's
quickly.
gonna be in. It's gonna be in April.
Yeah. Yeah, they're gonna get presented their year over year by some guy in accounting, and there's
Yeah,
going to be an Angelos tweet or a Bob Nutting grumble or we got to trade Brian Hayes because I'm not selling my Yinglings at the rate.
They're going to be like, the owners want you to buy more beers or something. There'll be an article somewhere about that.
That being said, like, of all things for MLB owners, like, at least I can agree with that. I am also here to buy more beers. So we can align on this one.
Maybe if it wasn't $12 for every beer, am I right?
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast right there. That pisses
that
me
is
off.
A whole other podcast.
Yes.
All right. Well, yeah. So I think so far, to recap, we're in favor of this change. It's been a good change. So let's jump into some of the actual like news from spring training on the field. We've already talked about the rule changes. What else do you want to talk about that we've seen in the last week?
I mean, if there's one story in baseball right now, Nate, it is the grudge match, the death match, the first blood fight between Ali Marmol and CB Bucknor.
Wow. That was good.
That was like my WWF promo.
Yeah, like their faces on each side of the screen, like her,
Sunday. I think I tried to do that bit last week.
You take it. If somehow you missed this, some may remember.
Get out from under your rock, bro.
Remember from last year, where there was a game where CB Bucknor was being his typical terrible behind home plate self.
Yes.
And there's actually, I'd recommend, it gave me a chance to rewatch it. John Boy, who we love, has one of his classic breakdowns of this game. Is really funny because in this game, both Marmol and Lavallo, the Diamondbacks manager, were both pissed off at Bucknor because he was being bad for both teams. And even the broadcast booth was talking about like which of these managers is going to get thrown out first, So it was particularly bad.
Yeah.
And so basically Marmol explodes screaming at Bucknor, rightfully,
And he told him to retire, which I think is what really got to, and Buckner's 60 years old.
Yeah, he said, "Get out of the game. Like you're done. You're like you're. I think you're too old for this." Some like attacking his age, which okay, like like that's fine. Maybe not attack like someone's age, but
hey, don't mess with Ali. That's what I think. That's the lesson here.
Well, and in sports, to be fair, like if there's any arena where age is a very impactful piece of whether you're good at something or not, it's at least the one place that maybe it's more fair to attack someone for their age. So CB Bucknor, though, apparently holds a grudge because now in this season, Marmol went out to shake his hand and he refused. And wow, what a fun little fight we've had from this.
I think it's extra fun because I have never heard of this happening ever. There's no precedent for this. They usually you shake the guy's hand and call him an MFer under your breath. Like you just shake the hand, do the thing. But CB Bucknor being so petty and not extending his hand for Ali Marmol before a spring training game is hilarious. Ali Marmol asked after the game what he thought about that, and he said, "I don't think he's good at his job, and it just shows a lack of class as a man."
So damn, now, Ali goes at your age, and now he's calling him classless. So this is really the bulk of the story, frankly. Marmol came out hot in the interview, and then the next day he went out and Bucknor did shake his hand.
Yeah, I think it was the day. Yeah, there was some timeline, but he did shake it. Yeah.
So it's handshake watch, the thing that we were all looking for this spring training, and we'll probably never know, or we won't know for a while, but the understanding is that both guys were talked to by the MLB. There may have been some sort of punishment handed to Marmol for outwardly saying,
I think he caught a fine. He caught a fine. Yeah, for sure he did.
You can't normally say, I think they're bad at their job. That's not, but hey, you know what? I love it. I think frankly, I think these umpires do need to be called out a little bit more. Most of them are really good at their job, but some guys like Bucknor, I mean, he's just been bad for a while now, and it's a major reason why there's so many calls for robot umpires and things like that, and it's heading in that direction anyway. So, like, I think it's good for these guys to be called out like this.
What drives me, I totally agree with you. What drives me insane is that you have guys like CB Bucknor, you have guys like Angel Hernandez, and they make mistakes. And I think that you and I and Ali and players and everyone would be a little more empathetic if there was any transparency around.
Right.
If CB Bucknor misses a call, they get in a fight, he looks at the replay and says, you know what? You were right. I'll try not to make that mistake again, or I'm sorry that affected the game. Boom, move on. And I think we would all be less on their asses about it. But that is what is so frustrating, is that they are this like immovable, untransparent object that you can't see inside of. And when you see Angel Hernandez change the outcome of a game by calling everything north of the strike zone a strike, you lose your mind.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. That's why you got the Kyle Schwarber blow up last year. It's because he was just doing that bad
That's
of a
another
job.
good one. Yeah, that's another
That
good
was
one.
like maybe the best blow up of last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
mean, if the
that's
umpire just have him
if
come out and say, like, we're both so fired up about this.
yeah.
If the umpire was just like, man, spin rates these days, right? Like, sometimes it's hard. Yeah, like, I think we'd have such a better connection with these guys.
Hey, I missed it. It wasn't on purpose. I'm a human. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to be better. That is so easy, but they just sit there. They rarely do interviews with the press. They very, very rarely apologize. I blame Joe West for a lot of like the culture around the way that umps treat this whole process and like the media and everything like that. I'm glad he's gone, and now he's editing his own Wikipedia pages and all that weird shit that's going on with Joe West. But anyways,
like, on the one hand, I get it, because there'd be a competitive strangeness where if, like, sometimes umpires were coming out and being like, yeah, I blew that call, and it was like a really important one, and it impacted the game. Like, you'd be setting a weird tone on, like, when do you admit that it was a bad call versus not. But even still, like, even if you don't get to the point where they're saying, like, yes, I blew that specific call or whatever, just a little bit more humility around it, I think we would all be a little bit more empathetic to them. But as it stands, yeah, you're like, there's nothing coming back towards the fans, and we care a lot about it, and it's very frustrating. The human element is always going to be a part of this game, but it sucks when the human element impacts the execution of rules. The human element I want to see is, were you able to hit that fastball? Were you able to make that catch? I don't want the human element to be like, were the rules executed properly? That's frustrating. So, funny story.
I'll say
though,
again, I'm pro review process. I want the ball strike review
that's
process.
That's coming. So, there's obviously a couple different proposals, but something is changing soon, and this is just another example of why it needs to happen. But let's talk about actual. We got to move on.
Well,
let's talk about actual.
I just want to button it up really quick. Like, CB Bucknor should be allowed to call Cardinals games. It's not that big of a deal. This will be over. All right, now we can move on.
Yeah, that's fair.
People like calling for his head. It's like, whoa, just a handshake.
Yeah. All right. So, actual game talk. We've already. I was saying in the Birds Court, though, it was funny. Like, man, this offseason, we were kind of stretching for topics at times, and now
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, never mind. We nailed it 100% of the time. You're right. 1 weekend, and there's like so much shit to talk about already.
Yes, there is.
So, what are your high points so far from the few games that we've gotten?
Yeah, well, so I guess I want to start off the field, and then we can get back on the field. But Jordan Walker, he's had a couple of starts, looked good. Eduardo Perez believes he saw a home run hit by Jordan Walker in batting practice that went close to 500 feet. Talking about how he hasn't seen a ball hit like that since Mark McGwire. So if that's not enough to get you excited, Jordan Walker was talking to Buster Olney during the ESPN game, before the ESPN game, and Buster Olney goes, "Jordan, you don't look like what I thought you'd look like." He's like, "It looks like you grew a little bit." And Jordan kind of sheepishly goes, "All right, well, I won't lie to you. I grew an inch and I packed on a little more weight." and Jordan Walker told Buster that he is now 6'6", 250. And what I thought was interesting is that as soon as Walker said that, Buster Olney goes, "That's exactly the same size of Giancarlo Stanton."
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I'm just never getting off this hype train. How the kid's still growing? He's already, I'm
He's only
sure,
20. He
he's
could be
just a monster.
he could grow another inch still. It's unlikely, but he's only 20. He's
Yeah.
a real beef boy.
He is Captain Beef Boy, but yeah, he is now reporting at 6'6", 250. I mean, he hit a 430 some odd foot bomb. I think it was 109 off the bat. Like,
First
it's
game,
just
first game
just
he's
looking
starting, like,
good. Yeah.
what more could you ask for than a straight tank shot and off of Johnny Cueto?
Yes.
It just makes it feel even better. So, yeah, I mean, the hype is real and it's only getting higher. Like, immediately it's been like, "Oh shit, okay, this kid, like, it's only been a handful of games. It's too early to make any sort of judgment,
I
but
know, but man, like,
yeah,
you're
it's
talking
fun."
about Tyler O'Neill playing center field. Maybe that's really just to make room for Jordan Walker, and that's it. Like, I think these next two shows that we're going to do, these next 2-3 shows that we're going to do, Jordan Walker is going to get at bats almost every day against major league pitching. We're gonna, I mean, we'll
Yeah.
be watching your career with great interest, Jordan Walker. Like,
Yeah.
it is very, very exciting.
The only thing that I think stops him from breaking camp is these guys that are like logically ahead of him in the depth chart also doing well. We've talked
Yeah,
about this before. Like, he's gonna have to out hit um by a pretty good margin. A couple of guys that are expected to be big league starters this year. And I do think we have to temper our expectations a little bit because there's a very sound reason for why Jordan Walker shouldn't start this year off on the major league team, even if he completely crushes in this spring training camp. That might not be what we want as fans, but like basically, unless he's coming in as a starter, you could make an argument that he should start at
yeah.
AAA until there's a starting spot for him in St. Louis. So,
And
you know,
like, there, the other wrinkle, the only like naysay I'll really do, I think you're probably right on. Like, that's the most probable. Like, that's the way that the tea leaves are showing, right? That's the way I expect it to go. But I think it should be noted with the CBA changes that happened last year, if you place in Rookie of the Year voting, you get an entire year of service time. I think the Cardinals are extremely confident in him. And I think if you're going to bank that year of service time, almost no matter what, which, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about putting like a percentage odds on Jordan Walker placing in the Rookie of the Year, other than the fact that I feel pretty confident that if he gets playing time, he'll do that. Then the
yeah,
Cardinals have to think about, well, if we're paying for a whole year of Walker, do we just get a whole year of Walker? Is he hitting that
yeah,
well in spring training? And I think that's another thing that's kind of making this water a little bit more murky. Because like Adley Rutschman, he took the first 2 months off, I think, but still got full service time. And I bet you the Orioles would have rather just had that whole season of him.
yeah.
But the
It's
Orioles
an
are.
interesting point.
We shouldn't
Yeah.
talk about the Orioles because they're not run in a way that makes a lot of sense to me. But something to
Yeah.
think about.
I think that is an interesting point. I had not really thought very much about that. I was thinking more from just a like developmental standpoint. There's that adage of like it's better to get every day at bats in the minors than being a bench player in the
Sure.
majors. And so like we are gonna really need to see like a Nootbaar, an O'Neill, or a Carlson fail extensively before Walker gets a starting spot. And so why not have him playing every day at AAA while we don't want one of those guys to fail. But while we wait for some version of that or somebody getting hurt to where we say, all right, Walker, you're the right fielder for the next 3 weeks, like
Yeah.
go. And then the rest is history from there and in whatever direction it goes. So I'm just trying to keep myself, calm here and be, and keep my expectations tempered because he's also 20-year-old crushing in spring. Like, Paul DeYoung hits 350 every spring, so
Hey,
you never
Paul,
know what.
Paulie's got 2 walks, no strikeouts right now.
I know. But yeah, the
Yeah.
Walker story is what everyone's talking about, and rightfully so. I mean, he's and did you see his interview? He's funny. He's a
Oh my
funny
God.
guy.
The
Yeah,
guy,
he looks.
he's got the it factor. He's
Yeah,
charming. I think Eduardo Perez already said that he's going to be like a face of the game, and it like he's funny, he's smart, he is easy to talk to, he's got a big smile, he's a monster. Like it's just all great.
yeah,
I don't know. Okay. I'm
yeah.
just
We're
starting to think of
we're
J
geeking out
Rod, and
now.
I
So
know.
yeah, let's
Yeah.
move on.
So
Here's another fun development.
yeah.
I'm jumping in. Brendan Donovan, Rookie of the Year candidate last year,
Yeah.
Gold Glove winner,
Yeah.
2 bombs in 2 games. The one knock against Brendan Donovan's profile is that he's not a power threat. He hit 5 home runs over the full year last year. He's always been a doubles guy. And there's a lot of value in that. He put up over 4 WAR last year with exactly his profile, and we'd be happy to get anything close to that
Oh
ever
yeah.
again. So don't get me wrong, that profile plays, but if you were hoping that Brendan Donovan could become something more, that's his area for opportunity, right? If he suddenly becomes a even 10 to 15 home run a year guy with the other things that he brings, you're suddenly looking at one of the best second basemen or best utility players in baseball. If you don't already start to consider him approaching that camp off of
Yeah.
last year, like that puts him into 5-6 WAR territory. It really starts to open up his impact. And
I don't think if this is the way that he's trending, and I don't want to overreact too aggressively on 2 bombs and in a couple of games in early spring training, but it's notable. He hit 5 home runs all of last year. He hits 2 right away. Something, we know he went to Marucci. It's possible something has changed, and maybe even it's just his approach. He's being a little more aggressive when he's got a couple of strikes to play with, and then he can get down to grinder mode.
yeah,
But like if his profile, his versatility, his walk rate, and if he adds 15, 20 home run power, you're basically talking about Ben Zobrist, who was an extremely valuable player for the Rays for many,
yeah.
many years.
And the Cubs, part of the
Yeah,
centerpiece of the Cubs winning the World Series,
I don't
but
like
we don't
talking
like to
about
talk
that.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he was great for the Rays. He was
Yeah.
great for the Rays. Like one of the best seasons, like underrated seasons in the last 20 years. He put up like a 9 WAR season with them, just being
Yeah.
super valuable all over the place. So like that is like assuming Brendan Donovan can kind of keep his eye, keep his approach, and keep his versatility. Like that is the kind of player value that we're talking about. Um, I don't know what else to say other than like I'll be closely watching to see
Yeah.
if he has more power. But the fact that he hit a couple of balls at I think they were both 105 or plus that already is great news for us.
Yeah. Well, it stands out too because if this had just happened out of nowhere, we'd be talking about it, but in a different way. The fact that he went into the offseason with a plan of coming back this season with more muscle and a swing more tooled towards power, and we're seeing it already. It's the early signs of
Yeah,
a real change. Now, again, spring training is whatever. The pitchers might have been working on, how bad can I throw a changeup today? And
sure.
that happened to be the thing that he hit, but still you have a plan and you're starting to see early results. That's cool. So we'll continue to monitor it. What else do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think a couple of pitching prospect or pitchers that I've just been excited to see early going. Obviously, we've seen all the big guys, and really nobody's looked horrible or anything like that. So nothing crazy to report. Also, I think a first outing for any pitcher in spring
Yeah.
training means absolutely nothing. That being said, we got to lay eyes on some people that I thought was really exciting. We got to see Tink Head's pitch in big
Yeah.
league camp, which man, oh man, if that kid doesn't look good, like he is
Yeah.
he is fun. Like that wiry strength and that easy gas is really, really exciting. And that slider plays today. And that fastball plays today. It's all about, consistency and blah, blah, blah.
Is
We got our,
certainly easy gas something you're familiar with after your round through the
you,
concession stands?
I saw you smile. That was what you were smiling about. That really? That was,
I had to say it. All right, go on.
You're better than that.
Oh, my dear boy. No.
Easy gas on your jeez. So that we saw Wilking Rodriguez, which was really exciting. The Speedo wasn't exactly where we thought. Again, first time out of the bullpen, not too worried about it, but the stuff looked good. I'm telling you what, that beard, super, like that beard is bulletproof, and the free upper lip is just rocking it for me. I might switch up mid-season here to get that vibe going. So
it's
excited.
A bold move. It really backfire quickly,
And I think for me, the surprise name I wanted to talk about was that Kyle Leahy. Never heard of this guy. He's 25. He's built like a monster. He's like 6'6", and a like filled out larger guy. Comes in, gets 3 Ks. Fastball's looking fantastic, and I'm kind of like, well, where the hell did this guy come from? This plays clearly. Is he going to be a bullpen piece? Is he a starting rotation guy? What kind of job is he trying to look for here? But very, very impressed by what I saw from him.
Yeah. Seems like this happens every year. Is there's somebody in spring that we didn't even really think of them as an option. Maybe didn't even know how to say their name.
Yeah.
And then they look good and become a part of the conversation. So maybe it's this guy. We'll see.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the pitching names. The last thing I just wanted to chat about before we move on was, we'll talk about Manny Machado's contract a little later in the show. And that caused Nolan to kind of respond and talk about the money he left on the table. And I think all Cardinals fans will be pleased to know, like, sounds like he knew what he was doing. He made a calculated risk. He wanted to be in St. Louis. It sounds like it was really never even a question of him opting out. Realistically, it was more just him wanting to sit down with Mo, break bread, make sure that they're on the same page, kind of a formality more than anything. And then he gave us this quote, which I thought was it's refreshing. That being said, I also think baseball players should do whatever they can to get the most money. But it is nice to hear Nolan say, I make more than enough money, more than I deserve. When kind of asked about Manny Machado and the earning potential that he potentially left on the table. And this is something that we've kind of alluded to, is that Nolan is a little just different than your average baseball player. And like, I think this to me is, I want to win a World Series. The Cardinals are in the playoffs most often. This is what I want.
Yeah. I think it ultimately comes down to that. It's what he wants. And obviously, as Cardinal fans, this is freaking Cardinal fodder, right? This is like Wilson Contreras saying the Cardinals are a better organization than the Cubs, right? This is the stuff that we want, that we say the Cardinal way and all this, and then it's usually hard to actually have anything to point to say, yeah, we're people just like our organization better than, but you get little things like this and we love it. And I think it's great. I love it for Arenado. He's content. He's on a team that he wants to be on. And then from a fan perspective, we get to watch one of the best third basemen of all time. And also we understand that it continues to give more payroll flexibility when there may not have been. So it's a win-win for everybody. Only thing I want to say is, like, Machado, well, I might not like him personally, is not a bad guy for instead saying, no, give me as much money as possible.
Oh, yeah. No.
And if Arenado, you and I, before he opted in, we were saying he should opt out. He should ask for more money. So there's been this, like, this thing online of people saying, like, oh, Arenado is like a better guy because he's like more, has higher morals or something like that. Like, that's not true. It's not. It really is not. So
it should be like, they might be fine people, I don't know, but be clear about this. Nolan Arenado and Manny Machado are completely insane. It is the only way you get to where they are. They are completely nuts. And I am sure they are both of them are extremely selfish. I don't think that that's a bad thing. That's just the way that it is.
You kind of have to be to get to this level in athletics. So the point being is that, like, these guys are doing what feels right to them, and ultimately that's their choice. And it's not like the 90s anymore. These guys who are seeking money only, we should understand that, and it's not a moral failing, because they are part of kind of an exploitive world in and of itself. And if they want to get everything they can out of it, like, good for them too. So
hell yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got more to talk about, as always. And before we do, we want to remind all of our listeners that this show is supported on Patreon. Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. We've got multiple different levels, but any subscriber gets access to our private Discord. It's called the Bird Scored. Really been heating up lately with all the in-game action. Great place to go and talk about Cardinals and baseball and get away from the noise of all your other social media. Enjoy the season in a way that maybe you haven't been able to before. We're in there chatting all the time, sharing interesting links or just having stupid conversations. It's a ton of fun. So talkingaboutbirds.com or patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Check it out. Also, hey, if you subscribe, you get early access to episodes. Sometimes that is only a couple hours. Sometimes it's multiple days. It kind of depends on our recording schedule. So if you want to hear our stale takes before they're even a little bit more stale, like get in the Patreon. If you can't do that, we would appreciate it if you would leave us a positive review on your favorite podcast platform. It does help. You could do something like CRF_B did, leaving us a very nice remark on Apple Podcasts saying they listen to a ton of podcasts and this is easily one of their top follows. Oof. Well, CRF_B, you're one of our top follows. Thank you so much for that.
You're on fire.
Thank you. Ben, where else can people find us and support us online?
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Talk About Birds. You can follow us on Instagram at Talking About Birds. You can also follow us on our new TikTok at Talking About Birds. We're cool. We get it,
dude. We're so cool.
Yeah,
we're TikToking left and right over here.
TikToking left and right. If you
we're a regular old clock.
That might be the best one you had today. That was okay. If you prefer to listen to us on Spotify, we are available there as well as your favorite podcast app, like Nate said. And if you want to interact with us, chat with us, bug us, ask us questions, get good recipe ideas, hit us up at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com.
Yeah. So we're starting something new with our spring training coverage here. For the next 4 weeks, we are going to cover another team in the NL Central, kind of give a quick preview of what to look for from them this year, some of their offseason, and why the NL Central is, maybe not the worst league division in baseball, but it's close. We're definitely competing with the AL Central for the worst division in baseball. So we're going to start that coverage this week with the Cincinnati Reds, famously awesome team with a great ownership group that we are happy to talk about this week. So Ben, you sort of dreamt up this segment. How are you thinking about doing this?
Yeah. So I think, like, as far as the order we're doing it in, it's going in like a projected of division winners. So we're starting at the bottom and we'll work our way to the top. And yeah, I think let's just kind of talk about the Reds off season in general. And last off season, they obviously pretty much tore everything down, got rid of a lot of big names. Really all of their big names except for Joey Votto have left the team. I guess does Jonathan India still count as a big name? I don't think so. He's kind of taking a step back.
Yeah, he was looking like a big name, and then he had a pretty rough last year. So,
and I guess we'll get into the transactions first. They had notable losses where they are saying goodbye to Jeff Hoffman, who was a former Rockies prospect. He's been traded around a couple of times and at least had some arm talent, but never really came to fruition for them. Donovan Solano and Justin Wilson, all three of those guys, weirdly, are sticking in the Central, but now they're in the AL Central. All three of them signed with the Twins. So the little Reds contingent of decent bench periphery players have now gone to the Twins.
It's rough when your notable exits are still just like bench pieces.
Yeah. Who even are those guys? Like, It is pretty sad. They also lost Colin Moran, who is now a Mariner. I'm sure Cardinals fans remember him because his time with the Pirates, he kind of beat up on the Cardinals quite a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're notable losses. I mean, really notable. It's a sliding scale. I guess based on your
Yeah.
team's performance. The additions are a little more interesting. We have Will Myers signed with the Reds for 1 year. I actually think that could be a really, really great landing space for Will Myers.
I think so too. He might be their best player this year. At least position player is a good shot at it. In that ballpark, it's probably a smart move, both for them and for him. A 1-year deal. He had some really good years over the last, decade. So it makes sense.
The probability of him playing an entire 6 months in Cincinnati and not getting traded seems pretty unlikely to me. That being said, right-handed power bats aren't super hot. Well, I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's their far and away biggest signing. They also signed 2 catchers. Tyler Stevenson has got a little bit of a health issue, so they've signed Luke Maley and Kurt Casale, 2 backups who are probably going to take the majority of the load depending on what happens. Tyler Stevenson, who I think is in the conversation for the best player on the team, but that, we're talking about 3 WAR players and dividing, trying to decide who's most relevant. And then Cardinals fans, a name everyone will remember, Luke Weaver, is also getting a shot at taking either their 4th or 5th spot in the rotation. So
opposite of Will Myers, horrible landing spot for Luke Weaver. Man, if I'm trying to rebuild my value, going to pitch in Great American Ballpark is not the place that I would land. But a job's a job. You got to get paid. So
job's a job. And I will Cincinnati has developed some pitchers recently. Now maybe, let's just get into those. Maybe Nick Lodolo and Hunter Green are just so talented that you could give them any instruction and they would be doing what they're doing. But the Reds have a very short, very brief history of developing a couple of pitchers. Maybe that's what Luke is thinking. He likes the program. But I think far and away, at least for my money, the 2 most exciting players on this team are, like I just said, Nick Lodolo, starting pitcher, Hunter Green, who's, if he's not a household name yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if this guy starts launching into the stratosphere here pretty soon.
Both these guys, this is the one thing, if you're a Reds fan, and they have a high-end position player prospect we'll talk about in a minute, but these 2 pitchers are really the thing you're looking for to say, like, if this team is going to be good in the relative near future, it's going to be behind the top of their rotation, hopefully with these 2 guys crushing at the top. They both have shown flashes of real excellence, and so hopefully the Cardinals, make them not that, but we'll see.
Yeah, and if they both ascend to the number 1 ace level pitcher here in the next year or 2, that shouldn't surprise anybody.
Right.
Hunter Green might be the most talented, just like pure talent, physicality in baseball starting pitcher right now. Talk about easy gas. The guy's just sitting at 101 all day. And Lodolo can strike out everybody. So, very exciting for the Reds fans.
Yeah, they've definitely done a few rounds at the concession stand. Let's talk about the prospects, because obviously Lodolo and Green are the 2 biggest names right now, but one of the biggest developments for the Reds in 2022 was the sudden ascension of prospect Ellie De La Cruz. Great name. And he is a big dude who hits the ball really hard.
Yes. Yeah, I have written down in our little outline here. He's basically like a smaller version of O'Neal Cruz, which everyone is because he's like 6'9". But Ellie De La Cruz, I think he's like 6'5", rocket arm, huge raw power. The glove is decent. It looks like he's going to stick it. He's going to be the biggest shortstop outside of O'Neal Cruz. And he's got all of the tools. He is fast. I think the only thing that's maybe lagging a little bit is the glove work. But again, the Reds think he can stick at short, at least enough to play there for a few years. This guy is somebody who the Reds position player issue is so bad that it's going to be really hard for them to keep De La Cruz in the minors for much time without the fans starting to revolt, because that's how good we think he's going to be, and that's how bad the Reds' entire position player group is.
Yeah. There's a very high likelihood that he will be the top prospect in baseball very, very soon. It's going to come down to eligibility, who gets called up first. Obviously, right now, most people see Henderson and Carroll as the two top prospects. And then right behind them, it's kind of pick your poison between Jordan Walker and Ellie De La Cruz and a few other guys.
Yeah,
and
who's that kid with the Marlins, that pitcher who is just Yuri Perez? That guy is
Perez.
unbelievable.
So it likely, like, who's number one will most likely just come down to like who's left standing between who gets promoted and whatnot. But all these guys, like, we are big hype about Jordan Walker, and Reds fans have an equal amount of hype for this guy. So this is going to be someone that, as Cardinal fans, we're likely going to have to deal with for the next decade.
Yeah. And outside of that, another prospect, most of their system is kind of those guys who aren't projected to come up until like 26, 27, 28. But Spencer Steer, stocky third baseman, pretty big bat. It's really hit tool over power, but he's a big, strong kid. Would not be surprised, especially in that ballpark, like we were talking about earlier, if he starts to just poke the ball over the wall, 25, 30 times this year. His glove is more than fine enough to stick at third. But I expect, my bet is that he will break camp and just take over the third base job. And that's the way the season's going to go. They're just going to basically sit him down there for 150 games and see what he can do.
That's the expectation. He got some big league time last year. It's all set up for him to have a starting spot this year. And the power development will be the thing that sets him apart from a league average, slightly above league average, like a major contributor to their future success.
And I mean, the name Spencer Steer, that just sounds like a big, hard hitting third baseman to me. It's kind of perfect.
Yeah. So the Reds, we just talked some flowers on some of these prospects, but that they are just prospects. There's really nothing to be excited about from their existing lineup, other than we just like Joey Votto, but he's not really the same player anymore.
And I think that's going to be the big story for the Reds this year is Joey Votto. This is his final year. He's got a team option for next year. So the Reds have a $13 million decision. They can either retain Joey Votto for one more year, or they can give him a $7 million buyout. But if I had to bet money the way that the Reds have been operating, I think that this is probably going to be Votto's last year with the Reds. So that's a storyline. What does he do? Does he get traded? Obviously, he's a 5 and 10 guy, so he has the ability to nix any trade that would happen. But be curious to see kind of how that plays out. So Nate, obviously, Reds are predicted to be last in the division. We think they're going to be pretty bad. The Fangraphs projections have them at 67 wins, 95 losses. Are you going over and under on that win total?
I was gonna say under. Was my first. I was thinking around 65 wins was my projection. I'm gonna stick with that. I think Green and Lodolo, even if they do come out and develop like everyone is expecting, they still just don't have anything else behind them. They don't have much of a bullpen. They don't have much of a lineup. Maybe there's a world where Steer breaks out, De La Cruz breaks out, Lodolo and Green are both good, and they win 75 games. But I think more likely is that most of these guys take time to develop, just like most people do. And I'm going to say under on 67.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you. Like, looking at this team, we talked about looking at the Cardinals projections, and every single player is projected to have at least 2 or more. It is the exact opposite story for the Reds. The only position that is expected at 2, and it's only 2.1, is catcher. And I think that is going to be it is really going to rely on if Tyler Stevenson is going to play this much this year, and he had that horrible injury last year. It's just a bad team. So yeah, I'll take the under on 67 as well. I think
remember, 2 WAR is league average. So sometimes you might think that like 0 is like, oh, they're an average. No, 0 is replacement level. So if everyone is below, that means the entire team is projected to be below average. Not a good look.
Yeah, and the next couple of weeks we're gonna talk about the Pirates, gonna talk about the Cubs and Brewers, and I think all of those teams have made themselves better than they were last year, and I cannot say that about the Reds. So I think it's going to be ugly. Obviously, the schedule's a little bit more balanced, but the Reds aren't really going to be playing anyone else who they have an advantage on.
That makes it worse for them. The one like that with the old schedule, at least the Reds got to play the Pirates. 19 times. You know, they are not made better by having to face more teams. It's only going to get worse.
It's really bad over there. So we said this last year. If you're a Reds fan, watch the Mariners or come over to us. If you're for some reason listening to this podcast, watch the Cardinals, or if you can't stomach that, be a Mariners fan. You can at least watch some of your former players there. And I don't know. Yeah. Good luck.
All right. Well, that concludes our coverage of the Reds for now. We'll be, of course, checking in on them throughout the season as the Cardinals play them. So it's been it's been a sort of light news week for things outside of the actual on the field play, which is kind of nice. But we'll go ahead and check in on some news from around the league. What do you got, Ben?
News. Manny Machado, we talked about this earlier. 11 years, $350 million has been added to his existing contract. Manny Machado will have earned $470 million from Peter Seidler and the Padres by the end of his career. This takes him to his age 41 season. It's impressive.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about this. I feel like around, I don't know, 10 years ago, there was all this discussion around how, man, we've learned that 10-year deals are a bad thing in baseball. And so I guess, you know what? You're right. 10-year deals, those were bad. The problem is they weren't long enough. We need 11-year deals. We need 12-year deals, 13-year deals. Like, I get it. And I'm not saying that this is a bad deal or anything, but like, man, it feels crazy to sign some of these dudes into their 40s when you have no idea. The difference between a player at age 30 and 35 is often dramatic, let alone 36, 37, 38. So that I know the owners know this, you know, they have more information than we do. But wow, it's a lot to sign anyone into their 40s. At least with Darvish, he's already approaching his late 40s or late 30s. You have an idea of what you could project it a little bit, but like, I don't know. It feels crazy to me, but I know you got to pay to win and they want to keep the core together. He said he's opting out, and maybe the only way they could get him in the door for the next 5 years while they have this window is to sign him till he's 41. And they say, okay, this might suck in 6 years, but the next 5 is our window. So let's do it. Like, I have to imagine that's part of their calculation here. And if so, that's fine. Like, you know, like they have a great team, and losing Machado would have been a big hole for them. So there's definitely some baseball logic here to it, but it just feels crazy.
It does. It does. Yeah, I think like, but all the things you're saying like that, and I'll also add like this is probably a guy on a Hall of Fame track. This is one of the best players in baseball, and he pretty much does everything well. He still runs pretty well. I think he is only a second defender only to Machado and maybe, Arenado and Ke'Bryan Hayes. He is one of the best.
He got second in MVP voting last year and had as legit a case as Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt just had the narrative through the whole season. Like, Machado could have won it last year and it would have been fair. And Machado could have won it multiple times. So yeah, he's great. Like, if there's anyone that you're trying to sign for this long, like, he's the guy. he does everything well, but still,
and you're basically you're putting a Padres hat on this guy when he goes in the hall with a deal like this. Like this is the kind of deal that's happening. And what's wild is that they are still motivated to sign Juan Soto for an extended contract as well, which I think that if that gets done, that will be the most impressive work that Seidler and Preller have done, because getting a Boris client to sign before they hit free agency, especially when they're one of the best projectable young hitters in baseball, is going to be impressive. But we'll see if they actually get it done or not.
Yeah, crazy.
Moving on, a little much worse news. Joe Musgrove suffered a fractured toe for the Padres. Looks like he's going to be out a few weeks. Good news for the Padres is they are loaded. Honestly,
yeah.
We'll see how important their pitching is this year, but I think it's going to be that offense. But sad to see. I really want to see. I think it'll be really good for baseball and really exciting for baseball fans to see the Padres go out at full strength and use their might. And Joe Musgrove is obviously a very talented member of that team.
Yeah.
Sticking in the West, Gavin Lux. I'm sure you all saw this. If you hadn't, honestly, don't even go look up the injury. It was pretty bad. Gavin Lux is going to miss the entire 2023 season due to a torn ACL. Essentially, he was running from second to third, trying to avoid a throw from the third baseman, and it just got wonky on him, and his knee just went the wrong way, and it looked really, really bad right away.
Yeah, it's a huge bummer. Young player, really brought some good balance to the Dodgers. Not sure what kind of season he was going to have. He hasn't necessarily broken out like a lot of people thought he was, but
he was about to, Nate. He was about to.
And I saw someone say, like, the Dodgers have already been projected to not be their normal powerhouse. And with this injury, they just suddenly look so much more right-handed and so much older. And those are not usually things that more right-handed is subjective, but as far as the value of it, but they are an older team, and losing a guy like this does not help that. So
I understand that. I just think, like, if you haven't made yourself familiar with the Dodgers top prospects list and articles recently, take a look at that, because they're gonna be fine. They have so many good players that they're gonna
Michael Busch can now play, and he's been a well-regarded prospect for a while, and they've got Vargas at third. So don't get me wrong. I mean, I think they're still a 90+ win team, but they've got the Padres to deal with now.
They do.
And it's going to be, this might be the first year in a while that we've seen the Dodgers not running away with first, or at least in a like hot, like the Giants Dodgers a couple years back with the both 100+ wins. We'll see.
The Blue Jays hired James Click as vice president of baseball strategy. So no surprise to anyone, that guy got a job right away. And it seems like he probably got whatever job he wanted. There's not really any GM openings right now, so getting a job with the Blue Jays seems like pretty fun. So no surprise there. Smart guy gets job. Moving on, MLB sets up local media group, could broadcast 17 teams. Most of the teams that are affected by the Diamond Sports Group issues that we've been talking about. But they have added 3 executives to its new local media department as it prepares for a possible takeover of local broadcasts. So this is going to affect Bally and AT&T Sports regional networks. We kind of talked about this. There was a couple of other hires a couple of weeks ago that were kind of trending towards this, but it seems the fact that they're investing, this seems like the path forward. The MLB is going to take over producing until they either find a new home, or what I think is more likely, just take it over full time. It might, as we talked about, I still would not be surprised if ownership gets involved on an individual basis, but this is the way it's going. Really, I think all it means for people watching and listening is blackouts are probably going to end sooner than later, but I guess we'll hear more. The thing that's unclear to me is, do the existing contracts dissolve at some point? There are monies promised to certain teams in those contracts. There's obviously a length of time. There are advertisers. It's very complicated. Hopefully we'll learn more. But it is all moving that away right now.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I'll say, I don't I'm not necessarily like super confident in the MLB's ability to not fuck this up, but I think I still think this is a good thing. I think this is the direction it needs to head.
Yeah.
You got to get out of these weird extended contracts with multiple different cable providers based off of region, and those cable providers can be bought and sold, and like it's a shitty system, and having your product wrapped up into it is I think not great for long-term sustainability with where the industry is heading, with where content consumption is heading.
Content.
You know, have we talked about how much we love content? So I think it's good. You know, I can't wait to stream my games via TikTok or whatever. Yeah. But you know,
I hope it all goes to Facebook Live. Facebook is great.
Yeah. My favorite thing about Facebook is the algorithms. You know, what they're doing on serving me what I want.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, again, yeah. I'd say the good thing is it seems like so far there was some concern that like literally broadcasts would stop for a little while. Seems like they're getting ahead of it, and that's not going to happen. And that's ultimately like the most near term potential impact to fans. And that seems like we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
We might just all be helping our parents set up MLB.TV accounts here in the next.
Yeah. And again, you know, if you need help with that, just the VPN or anything, hit me up at talking about
two different things
at gmail.com.
And hey, if you're listening, you want help with an MLB TV account too, no mean to insult you. We'll help you with that. We've had someone take us up on helping with VPN. We're happy to do it for anyone out there. We want to help you get access to the game. So all right. Well, that's going to wrap up the news. So we're going to head to a segment. And you know, we've been having a lot of fun lately trying to predict what happens in 2023. And so I thought maybe oh no. I thought we took care of this guy. Ben, get back in the boat. Get back in the boat. That's right. We are returning to one of our favorite segments. It's called Card Shark.
Oh. So
just letting the music play.
Yeah, Nate doesn't tell me when he does these things, so I'm truly surprised when it happens. So that whole bit, we all just happen in real time. That was good.
So I got my grubby little paws, my nacho cheese covered hands here on a hanger pack of
looks large.
Yeah, it is about the size
my boy
of my
J-Rod on it too. Let's go.
That's right. So it is a box that contains 67 cards in it. So it's basically
this is going to take a while, folks. Strap in.
Yeah, so we're going to go through all 67. No, I have grabbed at random like 10 cards or so. This is the new is the 2023 Topps Series.
All right, updated.
So last time we've been playing this, we've been going off of cards from the last year. This is the first edition of cards from 2023. Best I can tell is that they were basically like decided and printed right at the end of 2022. Okay. So these are not reflective of any sort of off-season moves. But the way this game works is I pull a card randomly. I say the player, and Ben has to tell me their position and what team they play for. And I will accept for the team they play for, either what's on the card, or if there was an off-season move and you want to say who they moved to, that's fine too. And for position, I'm going off of what's on the card.
Okay.
So you get a point for each, and we'll go from there. So
and away we go.
All right. Number 1 is a tough one.
Yep.
Miguel Cabrera.
Final year for Miggy. What? First base, DH, Detroit Tigers, legend. I think we were talking about this in the Bird Squad. He had the worst year of any hitter last year.
I kind of thought he might just retire off the offseason, but I'm glad he's going to get his victory lap.
Sure.
I realized that I said the name and then I just held the card right up to the camera. So you would have gotten Miguel Cabrera no matter what, but I'm going to now show it after you do the guess.
Smart.
All right. Emmanuel Clase.
Love him. The closer for the Cleveland Guardians. Throws a 101 mile an hour cutter. How he do that?
Yeah. One of, if not the best at this point, relievers in baseball.
You gotta love him, Nate.
You gotta love him. Cody Bellinger,
center fielder, Chicago Cubs.
Yeah. This has him in his Dodger blue, but
obviously we'll talk about that during the Cubs preview, but that's like such a big question mark. I am excited to see the answer.
I think it's going to be a good signing, but I'm hoping
it's
not.
Yeah.
I very briefly was all in on the Cardinals signing Bellinger, so I got to stay consistent here. I think it's going to be a really good signing for them, but we'll see. Alex Cobb.
Oh, where are you, Alex Cobb? Starting pitcher. Oh, last I remember he was with, he's been on so many teams. Rays, Giants, Orioles. I think he was in Houston for a second. Crap. I don't know where he is right now. I'm going to say he's definitely a starting pitcher. I'm going to say he's an Oriole right now. Final answer.
Swing and a miss.
Damn it.
So he is still a Giant.
Damn it.
Yep.
Those color palettes are so similar. I'm going to blame that.
Yeah. He went Tampa Bay, Baltimore, Angels, and he is with the Giants.
Oh, I forgot about the Angels. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Next, we have...
Hold on to that card, Nate. That could be worth something.
Oh, yeah. Chas McCormick.
Oh, crap. Chas McCormick. He's the Brewers guy. Brewers outfielder. Maybe specifically center fielder. It's got a little bit of pop, right?
Well, you've got half of it right again.
Damn it.
So he is an outfielder for the Houston Astros, Chas McCormick. So I don't know who you're thinking of.
Are we sure about that?
Unless he was moved in the offseason. But I don't think he was.
I'm insane. Who am I thinking of? All right.
Christian Yelich.
I felt so confident in that. Yeah, I'm looking it up now. I was thinking of Garrett Mitchell. Damn it, Garrett Mitchell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm wrong. Fine.
Brady Singer.
Starting pitcher, your Kansas City Royals.
That's correct.
I like him.
Young guy. Yeah, people are into him. All right. Seth Lugo.
He was he the one that just went to the Padres? He was a Met for a long time. And I think he is getting a crack at the starting rotation with the Padres now. Relief pitcher, starter, kind of a flex guy.
So looking it up, he is a Met. I don't know was he signed with the Padres this offseason? Did I miss that?
Thought so.
I'm going to give it to you because you also, he was a Met last year and you said he was with the Mets. But look it up because I didn't catch him going to the Padres.
I'll look it up, but I'm gonna say right now I'm 100% right.
You're right. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I just found it. Yep, he's with the Padres.
Yep.
All right, few more here.
Him and Walker trying to crack the rotation.
That's right. Okay, couple more here. Kyle Bradish,
not Radish.
Kind of sounds. His last name sounds like a Pokemon.
Yeah, Kyle Bradish. I know the name. I know he's a pitcher. Man, I can't think of where he plays though. Kyle Bradish. I am going to take a guess and say the Diamondbacks. He's a pitcher for the Diamondbacks. I'm going to say relief pitcher for the Diamondbacks.
Well, once again, you are half correct.
Damn it.
He is with the Orioles.
Damn it.
I have found in playing this game, Ben, now a couple times, that when you are not sure what team he's on, guessing the Orioles is a good guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Bradish.
All right. Gabriel Moreno.
Gaby Moreno. Catching prospect for your Diamondbacks. Should have been a Cardinal.
That would have been tight. But maybe someday.
Maybe someday.
Yep. All right. Last one. Fan favorite. Marco Gonzalez.
Marco, starting pitcher, Seattle Mariners.
All right. You got it.
That wasn't Marco so bad.
Gonzalez. Let's see. So I'm going to count up your points here.
7, 8, 12.
You got 17 points out of a potential 20.
Hey.
I think you avoided being eaten by the card shark.
Oh, I didn't even know that was an option.
I spent a little bit of time trying to like rip the sound from the end of Jaws when he shoots a gun and blows up the shark. And I was going to do that if you got a good amount of points. But it turns out it was not a particularly compelling piece of audio.
Cool.
So
you know what was you explaining that, though. That was good.
So, well, hold on. I'm painting a picture with my words. Give me a moment. Listeners, if you would, please remember the end of Jaws. That's what Ben just did. Yeah.
Wow. That was exciting.
Alternatively, you were going to be Roy Scheider,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Throw me in. I don't care.
Yeah.
Let it rip.
All right. All right. Well, that was Card Shark. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Zip, zop, zooey.
Yep. Ben, good job. We are going to wrap this episode up.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. As always, remember patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Get in there, support the show, and we will be back next week as always with another episode. We have another full slate of games to talk about, and we've got the start of the World Baseball Classic coming up, so we're going to be talking all about that. So stay tuned. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your dog. They want to know. They have lives too. They need to know.
I second that.
And thanks again, everyone. Until next week, go Cardinals.
Thank you. Bye.